Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be making an inventory system. This is a continuation of the pickup system I did. I'll link that in the description down below if you want to go check that out. But yeah, so last video we made it so you could pick up weapons like this, so we can have 2 weapons. You can even have 3 weapons if we wanted to. But in this video we're going to be making an inventory UI that looks something like this. Ignore the icons here because they're just placeholders. You can obviously make them look better. You can also make the inventory system obviously look a lot better than this is. But yeah, we then have a description. So this is a rifle, SMG, and another rifle. You can obviously expand on the description, make it display a lot more things, make it a lot nicer. Yeah, that's as simple as what we're going to be making. And also, we also did make it so you could drop weapons just by dragging them out as well. And yeah, this is what we're going to make it today. And yeah, let's go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to head back into where our f_items is, and we're just going to add a new variable, and this will be called item icon. Not ico, icon. And this will be the variable texture 2D. Okay, great. And then what we're then going to do is, back in the folder, we can then create a new widget blueprint, and we're just going to call this wb_inventory. This will just be pretty much the inventory of layer. So what we can do here is we can add a canvas panel here. Then to this canvas panel, you guys can customize this to however you'd like to, but this is how I'm going to do it. If you want to follow me, you can. Completely up to you. But we're going to add a background blur, so the background gets blurred when we open this the inventory. So we are going to zero out everything and then anchor it to the screen like that. And we're just going to zero out the offset. And I'm going to make the strength about 3, so the background gets quite blurred. Then we can add another canvas panel. Another canvas panel to this canvas panel. And this will store our inventory. So I'm just going to anchor it down here. 0, 0, 0.5, 0.5. So you can see it's in the corner now. I'm just going to customize it so it looks good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this about 1.1. Make this about 1.2. The size 960. The size Y to 210. And that'll probably do. Position, move it over a bit, maybe. Something like that. Looks good. Okay, and then what we can do is we can get an image, and we can just add an image into here. And I'm gonna make this image color be black and make it full screen so it looks like this. And I might as well just remove some of the alpha here as well. So then it looks like this. Okay, yeah, that's good enough. Next, we can add another canvas panel, and this will just be for the description. The description that will pop up over here, that's going to be in the canvas panel. Okay, so we can keep the anchor as it is. And then I'm just going to set the alignment to be -0.1, -0.5. Do you know what? We can anchor it here instead and then zero out the Y. So it looks more like this. The X 473 and the Y 325. Like that. No, we don't want it down there. We want it up here instead. Keep changing my mind. But yeah. Then we can add another image to this. We can actually just copy and paste this image that we already put here. It should fill it in nicely. Then for the text of the description, I'm just going to add the item name. But if you guys want to add any more description, all you got to do is add a new variable here called description and just write in whatever description you want. And you can just keep adding variables to this until you got your description built up. So we're going to make this placeholder text just weapon. We're then going to size the content. We can make the font, yeah, about 48. Then we'll center this to the top, zero that out, and do 0.5 minus 0.5. just sort of centered in this box, and that'll do for me just for now. That'll do. Okay, great. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to create a new widget blueprint, and this one will be the slot. So each item has its own slot. So for example, if you pick up a weapon, you have one slot in there which will be displayed, which will be a slot of your weapon with the item icon on it, pretty much. I know I explained that very poorly, but I'm very sorry. Anyway, so this will be called WB slot, and we are going to do custom on screen, and we'll make it 150 by 150 like this. You can add a canvas panel, and it should be quite small. Add an image like this, and center it like this. Make it 0.5, then the size to be 150, so it fills up the whole box. Now this will be the icon, which will make a variable. I am going to show you guys how you can change this, all depending on the weapon. However, I'm not going to do it I'm not going to add a custom icon myself because I cannot be bothered to import an image. But you guys can find an icon and apply it here. So just make sure that's a variable, and yeah, that's all you got to do for that. But anyways, to dynamically change this image here, what you guys can do is you can delete these two. Then on the event construct, what we can do is we can set brush from grab the icon first, and then set brush from texture. And then we can create a new variable here called item details, which will be of the s_item structure. Click this little eye icon, then go over to expose on spawn and tick that as well. We'll be able to set this through the inventory widget, but we won't do that just yet. Anyways, go to item details, get the item details, then we can break this and grab the item icon and plug it in like that. Great. Okay, so now before we do some of the inventory code, we're going to then create a new blueprint class, and we're going to make an actor component. This is something that we can actually attach to the actor, and we're going to call it bpc_inventory. Open it up like this. Then we're just going to remove these both of these events, and we're going to create a new custom event called open inventory. Like this. Making sure I spelled that right, which I didn't. Thought it looked weird, so I'm just going to correct that very quickly. Okay. Then we're just going to create a widget off of here, and we're pretty much just spawning in the inventory widget here, and we can promote this to a variable to get a reference of it, so you can keep the reference of this here. Make the variable to be inventory. Then we can just go off of the after the set here and just add to viewport. Now we're adding the inventory to the viewport. Next, what we're going to do is get the player controller, and we're just going to show the mouse cursor. This will just make it so when you're in the inventory, your mouse cursor will appear. And then we'll just set input mode to game and UI. And you can duplicate that across and set it in the player controller. There's no need to have an in-widget focus for anything. So yeah. So the next thing we will do is we will grab a new custom event, add custom event, and we'll call this close inventory. Like this. And what we're doing is we're grabbing the inventory reference and we're going to remove it from the parent. Remove from parent. And we can just grab this show mouse cursor. And we can just uncheck it. Then we'll grab the player controller again. And we'll just set input mode to game only. Like this. And then from this inventory, we're just going to set it to nothing, so it no longer has a reference to the inventory. So the inventory becomes invalid, which is important for what we're going to do in the player blueprint. Okay, then we want to add one more custom event, which will be update inventory. This will just open and then close it. This will close and then open the inventory very quickly, so it doesn't look like it's been open or closed, and the inventory will just be updated pretty much. So a reference from the inventory, we're going to remove from parent. Then we will create widget, and we're going to create the inventory, reference it, and then add it to viewport. And this will just refresh the inventory so it becomes more updated. Okay, so then there's a couple things we got to do in the player blueprint. So open it up, third person blueprints, third person blueprint. There's a couple things we kind of got to do. So first off, with the add to inventory here, we got to come off here. We got to come off here, and I completely forgot. Go to components and then add. We're first of all going to add a PPC inventory. Okay, then once you've done that, you can grab a reference to it. And from here, you actually be able to reference the inventory widget, which we created inside of here. You'll be able to reference this variable. And we're just going to check if this is valid. So it is valid. And make sure it's this white question mark. Just like this. And then if it is valid, then we can update inventory. So this pretty much is just checking if the inventory is open. So from BPC inventory, we'll just update inventory like this. And then we'll just go back to here. And we can make a reroute node like this. However, if the inventory isn't valid, then we're just going to skip the update inventory step because the inventory isn't open, so there's no point in updating it. Then we'll go to the drop item and do a very similar thing, actually exactly the same. So from the add to inventory, we can just copy and paste this completely over to the drop item. And that's all we've got to do for the drop item. So now the inventory should, in theory, update once we do the widget blueprints. So go over to the WB inventory. We'll go to the graph, then on event construct, we're going to pass to the third person character, just so we have a reference to the third person character, like this. Yeah, player character. And we'll promote this as a variable. And then, right, there's two ways we could do this. I'm going to do it a more better way to basically construct this. So I'm going to add a new custom event. Inventory update. So the other way we could have done this, we could have just attached the code directly to the end of this, but I'm going to create a custom event for it because I'm organized. So then we'll grab from the third person character, we'll just get the inventory like this, get inventory variable, then we'll do a for each loop from here. And we'll do a branch. And from the branch, we're going to check if we're going to break the S items first, the array element. Then we're going to check if the class is equal to nothing. So if it's equal to nothing, then that means there's nothing in that slot, so we don't want to do anything. However, if it's equal to something, then we're going to create widget. Like this, and we're just going to create the slot, so we're going to add the slot. Okay, and then you can connect the array element here. Now there's a couple of things that I have forgotten to do. The first thing being in the WB underscore slot, go to add variable, and we're going to add a new variable called column number, and this will just keep track of where it is in the inventory. Then once we do that, we can go to WB inventory, go back to the designer, and on the first canvas panel for the inventory, we're going to add a, what's it called again? Oh yeah, a uniform grid panel here. I completely forgot what it was called for a second. But once you have that, add it to the canvas panel, and you can just leave it there actually. Size, tick size the content, and we're going to add a padding. The padding we're going to add is, so open this, we're going to add 20 to the left, 30 to the top, 20 to the right, and 30 to the bottom. Like that. And that's all we've got to do there. And I'll demonstrate this for you real quick. So if you go to the library and search for the WB slot, if you add this to the uniform grid panel, you'll see we get different slots. So every time we add it, then we add a new column number. See, it goes into a new slot like this, which is exactly what we want. So that's working, which is good. However, one thing that isn't right is these two should actually be right next to each other, and that's just because I put 2 instead of 1. I forgot that it starts from 0. Yeah, so we can just delete these two. And we're going to add them dynamically from the blueprints. So, first of all, we need to create this as a variable. So uniform grid panel, just tick is variable, and that's all you got to do. And then you can drag this into your blueprint, and we can just do add child uniform grid. So link these up, and just return value goes into content. Then you see you get these rows and columns. So this array index will go into column, and we can refresh this. No, we can't, because go back to your slot. I'm sorry, I'm bounced you around your blueprints right now, but I keep forgetting things. So just make sure this is eyes enabled like the item details, and it's exposed on spawn. Then when we go back to the inventory, when we refresh this node, the column number is now shown, and you can just plug this array index into the column number, so we can save these when we go to the dropping. Then at the end of the construct, we'll just call update inventory. Inventory update, even. Okay, great. So now if we click play, what we should be able to see is nothing, because we forgot to actually be able to open the inventory. So in the event graph, we are in fact going to make a new input. So where third person, input, actions. We're going to add a new input. So I can find it. Input, input action, IA underscore. Toggle inventory is what we will call it. So this will be the key that you hit to enable the inventory, so to show and hide the inventory. So the key that I will choose is tab. So I'm going to use tab to toggle my inventory. So just click tab, and that's all you got to do. Back in the third person, we can get the inventory. I forgot what I called it already. Toggle inventory here, and from started, what we can do is grab the BPC inventory and then grab a flip-flop, and then connect the BPC inventory to open inventory, which I spelt wrong, but it doesn't matter. I hope you guys spelled it right though. And then we're going to close inventory as well. That one I spelled right. And now it should work. So we click play, we should be able to open the inventory and close it. We pick up a weapon, we have to open it, and you see we have a slot here. You pick up another weapon, and you have another one. And also, if you go over with the inventory open and you can pick up a weapon, it will just appear in your slot like this. So that's perfect. It's so far working perfectly. So that's with good news. Okay, so the next thing we can do is make the description appear. So the description for the weapon appear when you hover over each weapon. So in order to do that, the first thing we'll do is go to the canvas panel, and we're going to just call this description. And we'll make it a variable. Then go down to where it says visibility, here, and just make it hidden, like that. Next, we'll create a new custom event in the blueprint of the inventory, and we'll just call this set description. So here you'll just change all of your text values. So I only have one, which is the item name. So I'm gonna call this item name, set it as variable, and you want to just do set text, and it'll be the very bottom one here, set text text. And then all we're gonna set it to is just whatever this variable would be. So for all the text that you have in your inventory, you would just do this for all of them and plug it into all of these, pretty much. Okay, so then we'll go back to the WB slot and we'll go over to where it says functions, and we'll go to override, and we'll override a new function. And when it says on mouse enter, just click that, make some space. And what we'll do is we'll get all widgets of class, and class will be WB inventory. And off of here, just get a copy. And then we can just set description, and the text will be item details break. And then for me, I just have the name. If you guys have an actual description, you can plug that into the other pin as well. So, and then what we do is from the get is we get the description here, which is the variable of the canvas panel, and we just set the visibility, and we'll just set it to visible. Then for another override, so go to override and then go to on mouse leave this time instead of enter. We're going to just copy and paste this get all widgets of class, and we're going to also copy and paste this set visibility. And all we're going to do is plug these into each other and just set it to hidden. So now when we play, when you open the inventory, there's no longer a description here. When you have weapons, there's also no longer a description. If you hover over weapon, it says rifle, and it says SMG. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to tackle the hard part of dropping. So this did take a while to work out, but it's actually very simple somehow. So the way I went about doing it is back in here, we're going to create another widget. Yes, I know there's a lot of widgets, but it's necessary. So we'll make a WB and we'll call it drop slot. This should just be a slot where you can drop weapons into, and it will drop the weapons, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So for this, all you're going to do is get a canvas panel, drag it in here, grab an image, so drag it in here. And then on the anchors, just anchor it to full screen, and then just zero out the everything. And what you can do here is just set the visibility hidden, or no, sorry, not visibility hidden. You can go down to render opacity and just set it to 0. So you can no longer see it. Okay, and then over here, so we now have the drop slot set up. However, there's no way of dragging the weapon slots just yet. So that's what we'll actually set up now. So we'll override a function which will be on a mouse button down. On mouse button down here, and this will just detect drag. So all you gotta do is out of the mouse event, detect drag if pressed. Click on here, just click the left mouse button, and you can just link this all up like this. So this pretty much means when you click the left mouse button on the item, you'll then be able to drag it around. Then override on drag detected. So on drag detected here. So pretty much once you do this, it will just send a message to this function here, and all we're going to do is create drag and drop operation, and just link these two up together, and just make the payload self, and same with the default drag. And now if we click play, coming up, open the inventory, you can see we can drag it around, but you can't drop anything just yet. Okay, so in order to fix this, we'll go to the drop slot, and it's very simple actually. We'll just create a new function called onDrop. So if it detects that we've dropped something inside of this field, then we're going to go to the operation. We're just going to get the payload, which was a reference to this slot here basically. We'll then just cast to the slot. So cast to slot, might have to specify as WB slot. Drag this in. Then from this slot, we'll just get the item details. And we'll also just get the column number. And then from something which we haven't done yet. So in the event graph, I forgot to get reference to the third person character. So from the begin play, which is the construct, we're just going to cast to third person character, much like we did in the inventory. We'll get player character. We will then write this to a variable. And then we'll just use this variable to call the drop function, drop item. Okay, so there is one issue with this. As you can see, we have nowhere to plug this column number into, and that's because when we set up the drop item beforehand, it gets the current item that you're actually holding, which we don't want to be the case anymore. We'll just plug this into drop item, and it can be called index, yeah, sure. But now what this is doing is it's getting this drop item here. So in the event graph, when we call the drop function here, because you can still keep this in if you want to, when you call drop, you'll just be able to get the current index for the index. However, if you're dropping from the inventory, we're going to get the column number, which is pretty much what item you're dropping. And then if we head into the WB inventory, in this canvas panel where we put the background blur, we're then able to add WB drop slot here, connect to the canvas panel like that. Make sure it's just above the background blur like this. Make sure it's in this order, and then you make it full screen, zero everything out. Now when you pick something up and you drop it, it will then drop on the floor like that, just like that, and it works very well. So thank you guys for watching. That's all I've really got to show you guys today, and yeah, thank you very much, and goodbye.